it's all well and good, you know, going out working and, you know, having 1-2 jobs, having a business, bring a lot of money in. But if you're not making sure there's that tarbiyah at home, if you're not making sure that your kids are being raised with manners and etiquettes, and you're, you know, teaching them Quran, you're teaching them the Aqidah, these things that they need at the young age.
Children don't listen with their ears, they listen with their eyes. So it's what you show them. You can't tell your son, your daughter to, you know, seek knowledge and you don't do it. You can't tell them to be modest and you're not. You can't tell them to be patient and they see you getting angry.
There's a big responsibility on the man to make sure that his household is firm, that the, you know, his kids, his wife, they're praying salah, that, you know, that you need to safeguard their dunya, you need to safeguard their akhirah as well.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Brothers and sisters, welcome back to MXP, the Muslim Experience Podcast. Today we got brother Bilal, Beardoverbar, joining us. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah.
How you doing, akhi?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So, before we go into it, inshallah ta'ala, as we do, we start off the podcast by just reminiscing over how we met. And then inshallah ta'ala, after I'm going to tell you a bit about brother Bilal, and we're going to get straight into it, akhi. So, do you remember how we met, the first time we met?
Yeah, it was I think it was to do with security.
Knowledge Con.
Knowledge Con, yeah. So I remember, I think you reached out to
Waleed,
yes. And then he got in touch with me.
Yeah.
Because he knows obviously I'm in the security industry. So he just said, look, you know, give him around a call and, you know, see if we can work something out, basically.
Yeah, because subhanAllah, we were doing some events where it was getting a bit sticky. We had some events where, we had a few events where people almost really got hurt. And one event where a guy actually got stabbed.
Yes.
So subhanAllah, we said to ourselves, we can't really take any risks, you know, because we don't want to create an environment where either people stop coming to the events or people come, but they come with knives for protection, thinking that these events is where, you know, things could kind of pop off. So I remember I got in touch with Waleed because one time we did an event about 4 or 5 years ago and he brought some security, brother. And I thought maybe you'd have the same guy, but he said to me, listen, I got one guy. I said, he'll shut the place down. I said to him, is the brother serious? That was my words. He said, bro, trust me, this guy will shut the place down. Obviously, when I called you, Allāhummabaarik, you seemed like you really knew what I was talking about. You're like, listen, some people, when they do the security thing, they don't really understand it. But, you know, it's about awareness and this, that. So I was like, this brother knows what he's talking about, Allāhummabaarik, so we'll get you down. So alhamdulillah, we did, mashallah, and it was amazing. You have your own security company, right?
Yeah, I do have my own company. I also work with about 2 other companies as well. So just at the moment, I'm in a position where I'm just trying to create a lot of jobs for brothers.
MashaAllah.
So it's been difficult. But obviously it's just about making the right connections. And, you know, it's something I've been building over a few years. So alhamdulillah.
So if people wanted to find you for security services, like where would they look?
On my Instagram page,
yeah,
which obviously you can get them in touch, and I've got my details on there. So they can literally just drop me a DM.
Beardoverbar?
Beardoverbar, yeah, just drop me a DM on there. I used to have a page for security itself, but it was a bit too much to manage. I'm not great with the social media thing, so yeah, I just stuck with the one page. But yeah, if anyone's looking for work, if they've got a security badge, there's a lot of like job opportunities coming up, inshallah. Yeah. So
mashallah. So okay, khair. Okay, that's amazing. I actually remember, I think the first time I came across you, I saw a poster, you were taking some brothers to Morocco. That was, I think, maybe about almost a year before we actually met. Yeah,
that was going back, that would have been, about 3-4 years ago now. Yeah,
so I remember Abu Bakr shared it and we were thinking, oh, it's a nice initiative. And then finally we met you. He was like, bro, I think this is that guy, Abu Samia. I think it's the same brother, you know. So alhamdulillah, we knew of you before we actually got to know you.
Alhamdulillah.
So brother Bilal, Allāhummabaarik, you're one of the most productive people I know. You've got your own security company, Allāhummabaarik. You work with different security companies. You have recently started security training for other companies. You're a practicing Muslim brother on the Sunnah. You're a father, Allāhummabaarik. To how many?
6.
6, Allāhummabaarik. You're a husband. You run a fitness program on social media, Beardoverbar. You have set up the other company.
Let's see, the remedies, holistic remedies.
The holistic
it's
remedies.
my wife's company, but alhamdulillah, it's family business. So,
I know you're putting in work behind the scenes, and of course, Allāhummabaarik, your missus, mashallah, tabarakallah. So, akhi, all of this, why? most brothers would be happy with the little 9 to 5. Do you know what I'm saying?
For me, I've been working from a young age since I was 17 because fatherhood was around that time as well. It was a young time, so I had to provide from early.
As you become a father?
Yes.
At the age of 17?
Yeah.
Okay, Allāhummabaarik.
So for me, I was just wanting to look outside the box. And obviously I tried the whole 9 to 5 thing. I tried to make a career and it didn't work out for me. I think when I got to the age of about 21, I really wanted to have my own business. I was just thinking, what can I do? And I didn't really have any good ideas. So I just kind of, I didn't do much about it. But for me, it was just about finding my strengths, knowing my weaknesses, what am I good at? Have I got a trade? So all these kind of things you need to kind of think about. And obviously I didn't have a trade, so to speak, such as like an electrician, a plumber, paint and decorator. But for me, I had my fitness. So that's the first thing I kind of started to. I started training brothers with the calisthenics, the bodyweight training, and also I'm a Wing Chun practitioner. I've been doing that for just over 7 years now.
MashaAllah.
So I've been teaching that over the course of the last few years, and I've been taking it more seriously over the last year. So yeah, I had that, and also I was doing part-time security. And obviously I just want to be able to have that flexibility with my family, so I want to be able to bring in enough money so that obviously we can live nice, and also have enough time where I can spend that family time, spend that quality time with the kids and with the wife, and also have time to seek knowledge as well at the same time. So it's about finding that balance between all of it, which the family life, the work life, seeking knowledge, and then making sure that you're putting into yourself, because if you find that you've got yourself all over the place, you're not going to be very stable. Your foundation has to be secure, so you always have to make sure you're putting into yourself as well.
So you're a revert, right?
Yeah. No.
So how long ago did you revert to Islam?
It would have been about 6.5 years now.
6.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this concept of manhood, because obviously we spoke over the phone during the lockdown, and that's when we arranged this podcast. You mentioned that you wanted to talk about this concept of being a man, the importance of being a man, and so on and so forth, right? So we're gonna dive into that in a second. But compared to before Islam and after Islam, how did your perception of manhood change?
I would like to say I've always been kind of old school.
Yeah.
So I always kind of had that thought in there, as the man I have to provide, and I want my wife, my children to be kind of at home and doing the bits that the women do best, raising the kids and being responsible for the financial stuff and all the stuff that goes on behind closed door, which, to give credit to them, is obviously it's normally a lot more than what we do outside of the door. So I think the only difference is obviously knowing the rights. As before Islam, I didn't know the rights of the woman, and I wouldn't say I had as much respect and as much understanding of what women go through as women in general, also as mothers and also as wives. So I think Islam really opened up my eyes to how kind of precious the woman is, and how we should look after them, and how their status is, how we should give them their due right, and make sure that we protect them and we nurture them in terms of their Deen, and make sure that we're not undervaluing them basically for all the hard work that they put in.
So that's interesting, because most brothers what's considered as being a man is how many women you violate, not how many women you respect. Do you understand? Like most brothers, they rate each other for how many different women they sleep with, or this, that, whatever have you, but they don't have that concept of it being a manly thing to respect a woman. Where do you think comes from, actually, that concept of like violating women? Like where do you think that?
I think it comes from different places. It comes from the streets. It also comes from music. It comes from that kind of gang drug culture, where they just literally disrespect women and just see them as objects, basically. Objects that you just use and abuse. And I think when people don't have the right values and they don't have the right upbringing, is even from a young age, it's easy for them to see their uncles and their dad and the male figures around them not giving respect to the women in their family. So it starts off from a young age, and then they start to think they can take advantage. And obviously when you're young, the youth, they don't have respect for women. They you know, verbally abuse him, stuff like that. So it all kind of starts from, you know, family to school through into college, and then it just, like you said, it's a whole body count thing.
Yeah.
Like, how many women can you get?
Yeah.
Like this, and how many women can you, you know, fornicate with, this and that? And it just, to them, it's like, yeah, I'm the man kind of thing. But you know what that does is it just degrades women.
Yeah.
And also just doesn't, you know, it doesn't sit. How can it sit right in you as a person to abuse women like that, and then not knowing that one day you're going to be a father, one day you might have a daughter. Do you want your daughter to be treated like that? And that's when a lot of people think, okay, you know, I've made these mistakes and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's a wider issue. It's a big problem in our society. That, you know.
But you know, it's actually a profound point that you touched on, because even when you look at the concept of what it means to be a man, people look at the tough boy stuff, the one who's the strongest, the hardest. But even like the kuffar, they have a concept known as chivalry. Chivalry, like respecting women. Like, you know, like how do you define chivalry? Like I know it's a big word for some brothers watching. Chivalry is like, you know, when you go out of your way from open the door for, it's more than just open the door for women when they come through, but it's just, you know, that kind of thing, just like respecting women, honoring women. But it's actually an Islamic concept, because the Prophet ﷺ, if you want to judge a man by how strong he is and by how tough and how brave he is, no one was tougher and braver than the Prophet ﷺ. Because Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, you know, I believe the narration was from him, in the Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ would run into the middle of the battlefield. The companions would fight behind him. You know, you fight behind someone for protection, for safety, as in you go first. They will fight behind him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even in the Battle of Hunain, when the companions, because they were starting to get pushed back, they were starting to retreat, and the Prophet ﷺ was charging forward, saying, "I am not a liar, I am the messenger of Allah." And these men are raining arrows down. The kuffar are raining arrows down, but the Prophet ﷺ is walking forward. Do you see what I'm saying? No fear, except fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, manly. But this same man now, he said, the best of you is the one who's best to his wives, and I am the best to my wives. Ahli, generally speaking, the Arabs would use that term, ahl, primarily for wives. He's the one, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that defended the women when they were being slaughtered, thrown to their death as babies, like they will give birth. A man would make his wife give birth next to a hole in the ground, a ditch, a grave. She gave birth to a boy, they would celebrate. If she gave birth to a daughter, he'd bury her there and then. Or he'd wait till she's 4 or 5 years old, tell his wife, beautify her, let me take her for a walk, take her to the desert. She would help him dig her own grave, then he'll throw her in the grave. And the Prophet ﷺ came and he honored, he restored the honor of women by showing the sanctity of their life and many things, wallahi. And this was part of what made him a complete man. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, a man is there to take care of his women, to maintain his women. That's what Allah said in the Quran, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّمُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ, that men are maintainers of women. They're there to take care of them. But brothers want to push the ayah, you know, وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً, that men are a daraja, a station above women. Like, for example, a man in his relationship with his wife is what? He's a station above her, and that he runs the shots. Of course, in the context of parenthood, then obviously the mother is above the father. But in the context of husband, wife, the man, every team must have a captain. Allah made the man a captain of the team. But that job is not there for you to oppress her, to push her around. With great power comes great responsibility. From your responsibility is to maintain her, to take care of her financially, physically, emotionally, so on and so forth. So I'm happy that you touched upon that, because subhanallah al-azim, I think something that's widely neglected nowadays, that concept of being chivalrous towards women. Barakallahu feek. Another question I want to ask you, one thing that is really kind of taken out of the concept of being a man nowadays is the concept of religion. You find when a person talks about manhood, we don't talk about spirituality. Manhood is at most, you know, even the kuffar will throw chivalry in there. You know, going to the gym, making money, this, that, courage, bravery, but spirituality, akhi. So tell me, how did you come to the spiritual journey, and how is that so? How is your Deen such an inherent part of you manifesting your manhood in the best possible way that you can?
I think definitely it comes down to, you know, having a sound aqidah and your manhaj, knowing who Allah is. And I think once you start to know who Allah is and develop that relationship, you'll find that, you know, your life changes for the better, you know, alhamdulillah. Because I remember when I first came to Islam, I didn't have the right, say, guidance, I didn't have the right brothers around me. A lot of the brothers I did have around me at the time were doing pretty much the same thing as a lot of the non-Muslims I had around me before. So I wouldn't say that, you know, everyone gets that guidance, especially as reverts. We're not always in the right place. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who guides. So you might find that you come to Islam, but you might find that you're around Sufis or you're around people of Bidah. So I think it all, you know, your companions and where you're getting your knowledge from will determine exactly what kind of version of Islam you have. And obviously to come across Salafiyyah is how every Muslim should be. And once you have that, you find that, you know, it's not just about working out, being strong, looking good, dressing well. A lot of the outer appearance that a lot of people focus on is more about inside. It's more about, you know, have you done your adhkar this morning? Have you read Quran? You know, have you had that 5-10 minutes out with your Lord and just asking for guidance, you know, asking for forgiveness? And you find that when you do these things on a daily basis, you feel a lot more complete. Whereas if you don't have that relationship with Allah, you feel like there's always something missing. And you might try to replace that with money, with working, with many other things, but all materialistic stuff that is not going to fill that hole. So once you submit to your Lord and this becomes a daily thing, a daily routine where you make sure you hit your salah, you manage your salah around everything else rather than the other way around. And you find that you put Allah first and His rights first, you'll find that everything gets much easier. And you start to have sabr with the calamities and the problems that you face on a daily basis, whether it be financially or health or family, find everything like that, it gets easier because that's no longer your priority. That your priority is your Lord. And then everything else after that kind of just follows, and you just learn to accept that you might not have the same thing that another brother has or that your neighbor has, but just to be happy with the qadr of Allah and what He has ordained for you.
You know that point you mentioned earlier, just now, just a second ago, about the concept of it's not about what your outer appearance looks like, it's your inner. It reminded me of a statement of Imam al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. He, one time at the Friday prayer, he saw these men and they were dressed in beautiful white thobes, and their thobes were clean, white, pure. And he said, if only our hearts, if only we took as long to clean our hearts the way we clean our thobes. Well, even amongst, I think, you know, sometimes even our brothers who are on the sunnah, sometimes they focus more on the shimagh and the point on the shimagh, having the pen right here, you know, make sure the thobe is nice and clean or whatever have you. But seeking knowledge is very, very low. You know what I'm saying? They don't attend classes, they don't give sadaqah, they don't fast, they don't night pray, they don't do things. Everyone can quote scholars and, you know, turn to the scholars, but do you actually benefit from the scholars? You see where I'm coming from? I want to ask a question. So you said you come to Salafiyyah now. Obviously, Salafiyyah, for people who don't know, is basically just means, what does Salafi mean to you? I'm not necessarily asking for an academic definition of what Salafiyyah is, but because people must have a preconceived notion of what Salafi is like. What is Salafiyyah to you? Like as a normal person, you're not a guy who's a propaganda kind of guy. You're not pushing no propaganda. You're smart enough and strong-willed enough to not have been manipulated by some group. Like, what is Salafiyyah to you?
Salafi is being Muslim. It's being Muslim. That's what it is. It's following the Quran and the Sunnah, and you know, and with the evidences. That's all it is. It's not anything far-fetched. It's not anything that is hard to attain. It's just about, you know, being honest with oneself and negating falsehood and affirming the truth. That's what it is.
So how's it different than other groups though? Because you must have seen different groups. So as in, because people are gonna say, "Oh, isn't that what everyone does? Don't everyone follow Quran and Sunnah?"
What you find with others, you'll find that the ones who have gone astray and the innovators, a lot of them, they go over their desires. There is difference of opinions with certain things in Islam, but our manhaj, aqidah, has to be firm. It has to be, there's only one aqidah. And we need to, you know, we find that the ones who have strayed, you see that over the course of history, it's the same things repeating itself. So the difference is that we don't go with stuff that is void, stuff that is weak. We go with the sahih, with the strong evidence, with the stuff that has been traced back from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we follow the first 3 generations, the companions.
And I think that's really the key, isn't it? Because mostly, like, I mean, apart from like the Shia, most groups generally will tell you we follow Quran and Sunnah. They'll try to bring you a hadith or an ayah for what they do or what they believe. But at the end of the day, the issue is that whose understanding did you base it on? Like we say, look, we took the ayah and this is what Abu Bakr said about the ayah. And this is what Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anhuma said about the ayah. They don't have that. They don't have a companion to back up that understanding with. Like everyone trusts the companions when it comes to the wording of the narration, because you know no hadith can reach you except through a companion, right? A chain of transmission that goes through it goes through the 3 generations. It goes through the 3 generations up into the year 2020 after Prophet ﷺ's hijrah. So you trust the companions and their students and the students, i.e. the Salaf. You will trust the Salaf in the wording of the hadith, but you think you know the meaning of the hadith better than them. And that's what the problem is. We say you don't know the meaning better. They know the meaning best. So you take their meaning and the way you take their wording. You don't pick one over the other because they were with the Prophet ﷺ when his ayat were coming down. Okay, did you, by any chance, even me, I had a journey. When I started practicing, I didn't come straight to Salafiyyah. I went through different groups. You know, I was kind of on some takfiri stuff at one point, and the Hizb ut-Tahrir guys, I was, had, a few run-ins with them and some little Sufi stuff here and there, but I wasn't really too much. It was just one guy at uni was trying to suck me in. Did you have any encounters? Did you have a journey like between different groups and whatever have you?
I think in the when I first started practicing, which was about probably 1.5 to 2 years after I took my shahada, because even though I did take my shahada, I wasn't exactly ready, and I kind of just went back to my old ways literally a couple of weeks after. So my real journey of knowledge started probably about 2 years after I took my shahada, and even then, there's so many different people to take from. There's so many different groups. All the masajids, they're all a lot of them upon different things, and it's hard to really find the right. Especially here in London, it's hard to find brothers that are upon khair and to make sure that you're on the right path. So I definitely did experience a lot of different, like I said, different masajid, different sects and whatnot. But I think it was more. I wouldn't say the brothers weren't Salafi, but they was just, I think they used to focus on a lot of kind of things that weren't really important. Stuff that, of course, is important, but...
Do you mind mentioning what? Like,
in terms of, like you said, the outer appearance, like, okay, a brother's not wearing his thobe a certain way, a brother's not got a lahi, he's not got this, and he's not Salafi. Rather than actually worrying about the things that's important, like your creed, your manhaj, your aqidah, these things that you have to focus on. Because when I started my journey, I started studying fiqh. So I didn't have that base, that foundation, who is Allah, He's above His throne, this and that. I didn't have these basic things. So I'm finding that I know how to pray, but do I really know who I'm praying to? Do I really, when in salah, do I have that khushu'? Do I have that, that am I benefiting from it? And I find that I didn't really benefit until I found the right people to teach me the right way, and that bring it back to Tawheed and show the importance of it, and that should be your beginning. That should be your beginning, and it should be your end.
And that's very powerful, because we actually had Brother Hussein Street Deen on the podcast yesterday, and he mentioned something deep. He was like, people, they go and they start practicing and they watch people online or different sheikhs or groups or whatever they hang around with, and they've been practicing for 5-6 years, watching people religiously, but they've not learned nothing. They haven't learned how to pray. They haven't learned aqidah. They don't know iman. Never learned Tawheed. So what we've benefited, and I think that's also something that's pretty unique to Salafiyyah, in that Salafiyyah is about knowledge. Allah Azza wa Jalla told the Prophet ﷺ, who knew La ilaha illallah better than anyone, Allah said to him, Fa'alam, O Muhammad, have knowledge. It was a command, have knowledge. Annahu la ilaha illallah. That there is no one worthy to be worshipped in truth except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So knowledge is an integral part. I was going to say, so for example, when I think back now, when I started practicing, I don't know if you had run-ins with these kind of people, but me, it was local actually. The brothers that I was kind of around were brothers that was like hard on this jihad stuff, okay? And obviously jihad's a part of the deen, la shak wa la raib, with its shurut and conditions and whatever have you. But that is beyond the scope for discussion. But brothers were on this really like on this jihad stuff before ISIS even came around.
No.
It was, you know what I'm saying. So I'm not gonna. I was on that stuff. But you know what it is? I just realized something that one brother. This is even before I came to Salafiyyah. One brother told me something. In fact, it was a brother who gave da'wah to me. He said, you know, you're talking about the jihad stuff a lot. But you know, like real men don't talk the talk, innit? They walk the walk. So they're talking a lot. But if you're not gonna do something, not that he was telling me to go, but it's just the concept of like, it's not. Some brothers within the Deen think it's manly to talk about these things. Like, what you saying? When it's jating. Like even my brother told me he started practicing, come to the fear, and brothers that he was with on that stuff, he started saying things to him in a WhatsApp group, like, oh, he's not on the J. I'm like, you are. And Mujahideen ain't on WhatsApp like that. They're not on WhatsApp like that, you know what I'm saying? And it's actually ayah in the Quran. I can pass my phone because I want to pull out the ayah because I think it's important to mention this for the brothers. Because it's not a manly thing to just talk, you know what I'm saying? And like brothers come to the Deen, they have this concept of like it's definitely a manly thing to stand for your Deen, to sacrifice your wealth and your life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's not a manly thing to just talk about it, especially in circumstances where number one, the situation doesn't call for it. Number two, you're not gonna do it. I mean, according to some brothers, the situation does call for it, right? So they're not going to do it. And you know what it is? It's just a lie. There's an ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab. And while I'm putting the ayah, it's got a backstory. There was a companion. His name was Nadr ibn Anas or Anas ibn Nadr. I always get it confused. And he missed the battle of Badr with the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't get to participate in it. And it really hurt him. It really hurt him. He was so distraught. I missed this battle with the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam. And then he took a promise. He said, if I get another opportunity to fight and to defend this religion of Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, I will show Allah what I can do. As in I will prove myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you see what I'm saying? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I don't want to get the ayah wrong. I've got a feeling. Where is it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because the story is powerful. Here we go. مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ. Allah said, from the believers there are men. And it's important to focus it because in the Quran, Allah used the word dhakar to describe males. And He used the word rijal to describe men. And there are certain ways Allah describes certain characteristics when He used the word man. When He's talking about manly characteristics. So there's a difference between being a male, having a private part, that is a man's private part, and being a man. Because a man is more than just his genitals. Do you know what I'm saying? Some brothers, they have it twisted. So Allah Azza wa Jalla said, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ. From the believers there are men. صَدَقُوا. They were truthful. مَا عَاهَدُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. With regards to the promise, the covenant that they made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the scholars, when they broke down this ayah and tafsir, they said, this is talking about this companion I'm talking about. When the battle of Uhud came, he gave his life for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Some of the companions were coming off the battle. That was, he had some dates or grapes in his hand or something like that. And as he was eating them, he said, if I live long enough to finish these, I've lived too long. So he just went in there and he got killed. And his body was severed so much in the battle that they couldn't recognize his body. It was only his sister that through his finger, he has something unique on his finger. She recognized him and said, this is my brother. That's how they identified his body. And he died like that, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it means to be a man, the point I'm making here is not that a brother should go outside and do something mad. As we established that there's no time, this is not the time or place, there's no need for it. But the point is that they're truthful. And I'm saying brothers who talk this talk, not only is it upon misguidance because this is not a time of war. We're not in a state of war. We're in a state where we're required to be patient. Do you know what I'm saying? We're in a state where we're required to show and prove. See, the companions, they proved themselves to Allah Azza wa Jal on the battlefield after they proved themselves to Allah Azza wa Jal in terms of their patience. Allah wanted to see it, because you know what it is? I remember one brother said to me deep as well, he said, you know what, it's not hard to pick up a gun and shoot people. So it's hard that you're being oppressed and violated. And Allah Azza wa Jal tells you, remain patient, hold back your hands. Why? Because Allah wants you to get closer to Him through that patience. You know what I'm saying? But you want to bypass that to something quick. That's not really manly. Do you know what I'm saying? I think and I think another thing that comes down to is brothers who are on this stuff. I know I'm going off on a tangent, so I'm going to put it back in a second. But it's due to maybe not even so much being a man, but them not being able to control their emotions.
Yeah.
I think some brothers are proper on this jihad wave is because they can't control their emotions. Like, you know, the Prophet ﷺ, you have to think, like, he saw Sumayya being tortured. He saw Yasir being tortured. He saw them being tortured. And the Prophet ﷺ would walk by and he would say, you know, to the family of Yasir, he say, be patient. Be patient, or family of Yasir. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. I'm saying, you don't have Mughira for the ummah. The Prophet ﷺ. No. He saw Sumayya being tortured. Abu Jahl killed her by stabbing her between her private parts. And the Prophet ﷺ would see them being tortured. He would have annihilated Abu Jahl. Allah would have sent out angels to back him like he did in Ta'if. But Allah didn't want him to fight then. It was not a state of, it was a state of patience. Aqeedah, Tawheed, work on this. Prove yourself to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So I'm saying, if you don't want to, like patience is a part of being a man. Because you mentioned this earlier. Yeah. Patience is a part of being a man. Brothers don't want to be patient. You want to get victory. They want khilafah quick. But you don't want to put in the work to get the khilafah.
It's very easy to, if I step in, it's very easy to show the physical side of it.
Exactly.
But in terms of your iman, in terms of your salah, your ibadah, your sabbath, all of that stuff is much harder, I would say, for people with that mindset, because you've got a lot of brothers who coming from road, or, you know, they're stuck in what's going out there on the streets at the moment, and they don't know, have no idea what it is to be a real man, to raise a family, to give Allah the rights first and foremost, give your wife her rights, give your kids their rights. That stuff will humble you, and it will, and only then, if you're in that time and you have to, you know, jihad fi sabilillah, then that's a different thing. You're going to have a much understanding. Like I said, you would have had that sabbath because you would have been through a lot more calamities. A lot of men, you know, when they're going through adolescent, they're going through their young stages, a lot of them, they don't actually know what life's about. You know, they don't know what life's about until it really hits them. And then that's, you know, when their eyes open.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Like you said, you know, I did come across a lot of that. Brothers, you know, on the jihad thing, okay, you know, our sisters are getting their hijab snatched, let's go out there, let's show face, let's, you know. But there's much more to the deen.
And you know what proves that is that, like, even some brothers, you know, who, for example, who went to join ISIS and some of the groups out there, I remember stuff was coming out which hasn't been popularized, but brothers, like, some brothers would go there and then they would to join them, man, and then they will find out, bro, these dons are listening to music out here. Be on the front line and you listen to music. Because when life hits you, it hits you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, in the battlefield, there's, you know, you might not have, you know, the brothers strengthening your iman. It's like, bro, you're on the battlefield now. Do you know what I'm saying? And imagine your iman slips up. Imagine you, like, how can you be on a battlefield and your iman is that shaky?
You're half-hearted.
Yeah, you start listening to music. It's that to me is shocking, bro. Even some brothers go away to seek knowledge, but they're watching Netflix. And they're in Medina. Some brothers are going to seek knowledge and they're watching pornography. It's like you went there for the fad. And I'm saying you don't really go there for the knowledge. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing that it's about being real. Just being real.
Be real to yourself,
be real to yourself. Be real to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be fake. Don't be about this facade. You know what I'm saying? And part of being a man also, and I would like to hear you comment on this, is I think it's a very manly thing to accept the truth when it comes your way. Rejecting the truth, I don't see that to be a manly characteristic, because rejecting the truth is like kind of like it's like a man who's able to accept the truth regardless of what his position was is a man who's, what's the word? He's authentic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like, you know, when you're arguing with a kid and you've pulled him out on what's wrong, but he's still trying to kill. It's very childish. Trying to go
left, right, go around the houses.
It's childish. And from the things that bring about truth is taking knowledge from the elders, to listen to what the elders, the scholars, the people of knowledge, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-barakatu ma'a akabirikum. So when people want to know what's right and what's wrong in the deen, and especially issues of safety and security and jihad, they don't listen to like a young brother who just come off road himself last week or whatever. Look what the scholars say. What are they saying? Scholars are not scared to tell you if there's jihad. When there was jihad in Bosnia, the scholars mentioned there was jihad in Bosnia. When there was jihad in Afghanistan, the scholars mentioned there was jihad in Afghanistan. I'm saying there's no jihad right now. It's fitna. You got Muslims killing Muslims. No, that's what it is. And you're telling me it's jihad? That's called fitna. Do you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we digressed, Akhi, man. We've got to bring it back. We've got to bring it back. So what else? From the concept of manhood. What else we got?
Raising kids.
Barakallahu feek.
Raising kids is a big thing.
And
I think there's a lot of sacrifice that you have to, as a father, you have to sacrifice a lot. Yeah, sometimes you have to sacrifice your own kind of dreams to a certain extent and certain things that you want to do in order to, give enough to your household. And like I said, it's all about finding that balance, because it's all well and good, going out working and, having 1-2 jobs, having a business, bringing a lot of money in. But if you're not making sure there's that tarbiyah at home, if you're not making sure that your kids are being raised with manners and etiquettes, and you're, teaching them Quran, you're teaching them the Aqidah, these things that they need at the young age, so that, if you look at what's going on now in the schools or what they're teaching our kids in the media, they're just going to get sucked up, they're going to fall into a hole, they ain't going to do well. So you have to make sure that, you're at home. That's your job as well. It's not just outside. It's a part-time outside the house, and inside it's your full-time job, making sure that, like you said, you're nurturing your wife and your kids, and all of that's in order. Because without that, then it's like, what are you having kids for? If you're not raising them to be upon Salafiyyah and to have the right etiquettes and mannerisms and adab, and to go out there and show people what it means to be a true Muslim and a hardworking Muslim, then it's like there's no legacy for you then. When you're gone, then what's left? Or your kids fall off and they're not Muslim after a couple of years, who knows? So it's all about your intention and you putting in the framework for them and something for them to follow up. So if you've got a business, they can, go into the family business. Then that's income that you're gonna have over generations. And knowledge as well. Knowledge doesn't die. If you give them if you spend time making sure they have the right knowledge, then you get reward. That's a sadaqah jariyah for you when you leave this dunya.
100%. It's interesting that you mentioned that this concept of the raising of the children. Yeah, nowadays people they have kids, and they don't wanna, and it's like they have their priorities all messed up. It's like they only want that which is dunya for their kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Degree, work, job, this, that, and the other, which are all essential things, because they're going to aid you in your deen and whatnot and help you to fulfill your priorities and so on and so forth. But religion's so important, like you said, being in the house, maintaining the house. One of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a man who doesn't care how his woman leaves the house, in what state, no hijab, makeup, or maybe hijab, tight clothes. He said the youth. And the youth, if memory serves me right, is one of two. Either one who Allah Azza wa Jalla will not look at on the Day of Judgment, or one who Allah Azza wa Jalla curses on. So one of the two. I just can't remember the ending of the hadith. And, one of my teachers brought my attention to something. He said, the youth is not just a man who lets his family members go out in a way which is not modest. Like they let their daughter hang around with guys. And he said, that's not what it is. It's a man who allows his family to sin, and he doesn't feel any certain type of way. He's got his youths in the house playing music. He doesn't feel any certain type of way. His children miss salah. He doesn't feel any certain type of way. His wife, she's watching dramas all day, every day. Doesn't feel any certain type of way. This is a youth. A youth, what do they call it in English? A cuckold. Something like that.
No, I've come across that.
I heard it on one video one time. You might have to cut that out. I don't know if that might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was something like that. And like a man who What do you call it in English? How do you describe what the youth is? English. Like a man who just you know them guys where like their girl is just being passed around everyone.
They're just whatless, like waste of space, basically.
Waste of space, yeah.
You know,
it's like he lets other man chat to his girl. He doesn't really care. She's chatting. She might even be linking other man, and he's just like, well, it's the youth, and he knows. He knows. And he's just like whatever. The man is like that. So how can you allow your family members to sin? You bring TV into a house, and you try to save your family members from evil outside, but inside your house you have a TV which brings every evil from outdoors into the house, and it broadcasts it to them. You know what I'm saying? And a person will be questioning about this. Every man is a shepherd towards his flock.
Yeah.
So, and this is mas'uliyah, responsibility. You'll be asked about it on the day of judgment. You know what I'm saying? You'll be asked about it. So, like, what advice do you have to these men, for example? Like, I can't imagine. Like, I don't understand how you're a father and like your daughter is out there sleep with men, and like, and you might not know she's sleeping with men, but there's signs. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the way she dresses, the way she hangs around. She talks to your son's doing this, and you can't put a foot down. What advice would you have to fathers like this, Akhi?
The advice I'd have is just to be, aware of what's going on in your household. Don't spend too much time, don't worry too much about socializing and having friends and maintaining your relationships and your image outside, when inside there's so many holes, there's so many shortcomings and stuff that you don't work on. Like, if I touched on before, you mentioned about the jihad thing, all the brothers, they're on that. But then what about your house? You might be on jihad, but like you said, you got your women not covering. You got your daughters listening to music. You got them doing tutorials on YouTube. You got your sons up to, smoking weed, doing this and that, doing a lot of madness, and you just don't care. You turn a blind eye to it because you say, okay, I tried, but did you really try? So like I said, there's a big responsibility on the man to make sure that his household is firm, that his kids, his wife, they're praying salah, that that you need to safeguard their dunya, you need to safeguard their akhirah as well. So it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It's not easy, but if you really want success, and that is not just dunya, that's also making sure that everyone in your family is practicing and they're praying and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's when you have real tranquility in your household. You have a real good energy and a real good feeling. Without that, you'll never have it. Whatever you bring in, or how much money you bring in, it's not the same. Like, when you come home from work and you see your daughter and your sons praying or reading Quran, like, that's a blessing. That's the best thing you can ask for.
Coolness of the eyes.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. My oldest daughter, she's 11. She's going to be 12 soon, inshallah. So I run a tight ship at home. There's no social media, she has her phone because, she needs to get in contact with us sometimes, but there's no apps, there's no internet. She knows exactly what she can and can't do. And for me, like, alhamdulillah, she covers, like, she wears jilbab at that age already, alhamdulillah.
Allāhummabārik.
And, she's eager to wear the niqab because she knows why. That's the important thing about educating your kids, why they're praying, why the women have to cover, why the men need to be real men and not, just waste.
That's beautiful, man.
Because otherwise they need to know what their purpose is, why they're attaining this knowledge in the first place. Because knowledge is not anything unless it's acted upon, and it has to be understood. So you have to, that's a daily thing, teaching your kids why we're praying, why we submit to Allah, why we follow these rules. And it just makes, it puts that they get love for it. My other daughter, she's 7, she's going to be 8 this year, inshallah.
Allāhummabārik.
She won't leave the house without a hijab. If I try to bring her out without a hijab, she'll say, Dad, I haven't not wearing my hijab, I have the cover.
Puberty.
So
Allāhummabārik.
it's about making them love it and not just do it because it's forced.
And you're not forcing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making them love it from young.
Yeah, that's
you're
what
making them love it from young.
And if you play that role model, they'll follow you. Your kids will follow you in the ways that you go until they get to an age of consciousness where they find their own path. But while you can, up to the age of while they're in their early teens, do the best by them. Show them that you have to pray, you have to do this, and you'll find that they'll follow you, and it gives them an advantage. It gives them a much better chance to continue to practice and to stay away from the haram when they get older. So,
You know, a statement that I came across many years ago, wallahi, and it rings bells, wallahi, is children don't listen with their ears, they listen with their eyes. So it's what you show them. You can't tell your son, your daughter to, seek knowledge and you don't do it. You can't tell them to be modest and you're not. You can't tell them to be patient and they see you getting angry. You have to demonstrate to them the best possible example of Islam. Like even me now, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allah Azza wa Jalla bless me with a child. At the end of last year.
Allāhummabaarik.
And like even now it's just starting to hit me now more than ever. Like as a father now, obviously I have dreams for my child, I have aspirations, and I have big dreams as any father would. But then I just remind myself, anything that I want for this child, I have to be first. I'm sitting there, like for example, I have an ambition to memorize the Quran, but I didn't have an ambition to memorize the qira'at, which is the different modes of recitation of the Quran. But I said to myself, I want my daughter to memorize the qira'at. I wanted to memorize Shatibi, which is 1,000-line poetry in qira'at. And it's not really, I have passion to memorize the Quran and to memorize Hadith and Mutun and what, but I didn't really have a passion to do that. But I know its importance. And had I been young and had it, I would have loved to, but I didn't. But I want that for my child. But I'm thinking to myself, let's be real, bro. How is my child ever gonna realize the importance of the qira'at if they look at me and like, but dad, you never did it. You stopped at the Quran. You didn't go past the Quran. So clearly it isn't as important as you say. You know what I'm saying? So even me, I'm thinking, I want my child to memorize, Alfiyyah ibn Malik and Maraki Saud, these 1,000 points. I'm like, I'm gonna have to do that. So now I'm thinking, I got maybe like another decade to get all these things done. Inshallah, before they get to that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to walk that path. You have to walk that path before them, because if not, then they're gonna take. If you're average, they're gonna be average.
No.
You know what I'm saying? If you're and that part that you said is so beautiful about, you have to make them understand why and make them love the Deen. There were these two sisters. Their mum sent them to me. There's some sisters that I teach, and there was a mum who had two daughters. She got in touch with one of the girls to come to the class and said, basically, I want me to speak to her daughters because these girls were acting out. They used to be like hijabi, jilbabi, everything. One's got a boyfriend, others, they were good girls. You could tell they were not bad girls, as in they weren't evil girls. They had good heart. You know what I'm saying? They clearly had an Islamic upbringing, but they were just rebelling right now. They were on rebel mode. You know what I'm saying? They were on bring down dad mode. Bring down government. They were trying to bring down dad. And in speaking to them, obviously I was advising them. I did my best to advise them. I'm trying to understand what the problem is. When we got down to it, realized that, what the dad did? The way he taught them religion was by making religion a punishment for them. They did something wrong, he would say, sit down and read the Quran for an hour. Ajib. Ajib. You're programming the child to think Quran is a punishment. Yeah. Do you understand? Like,
so when life goes good, then where's the ibadah?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, life is good without the Quran. Quran is a sign of what? And we're like, it's mad because people, they misunderstand this. Like, even some parents, like when they see their kids doing mad, sending you to Islamic boarding school. He's thinking, whoa, I did bad and I went to an Islamic boarding school. He doesn't understand it's not bad to send him to Islamic boarding school and this, that, and the other, but it's just the concept of like, you have to be careful how you position the Deen in your house. It should be what? You did this? Of course, I wouldn't encourage anyone to take the Quran away, but like more like, no, you can't go to the Sheikh today. You know what I'm saying? Today, just going to sit here and look at the corner. That's your punishment. Like, religion is kind of like a reward. You know what I'm saying? And I know some families where they made it so they like, I know a family who got a younger brother, and this kid, like you probably seen him in Matic in the masjid, that little kid, like he's dying to come to the masjid. For him, it's like, I'm going to the masjid. Yeah. He said, you done something good.
I've installed that.
You're doing something good. We're going to take you to the masjid. You done something bad today? Like, you can sit here and look at the wall, or you know what I'm saying, something like that. That's very important to do, wallahi. And even take that contrast of do this. And don't ask why. Like the Salaf, when they would teach kids, they would ask them from when kids was being able to speak, where is Allah? Kids 1 year and a half, where is Allah? They would say what? Al-Arsh. Ala-Arshi. He's above his throne. Like I remember I came across a story one time where there was a father who wanted to teach the kids muraqabatullah, the fact that Allah is always watching them. So he gave 3 of his kids, he gave them a sweet each. And he said, each of you go into a place in the house where no one can see you and eat the sweet. And whoever does it in a place where no one can see him, he'll win. So one kid, he went into the garden. He said, no one's here. Put the sweet in his mouth. Kept stepping, came back. The other kid, he went upstairs, hid back, closed the door, hid behind the door, ate the sweet, come back to the dad. Where's the third kid? He comes back to the dad. Dad said, did you eat the sweet? He gave the sweet back. He said, Dad, I couldn't eat the sweet. He said, why couldn't you eat the sweet? He said, you told me to eat it in a place where no one can see. Wherever I went, I realized Allah's watching me. And he's like, that's the lesson I was trying to teach you. Allah's, you know what I'm saying? And then these kids, like from young, they grow up learning. Like learning
in a productive way.
In a productive way, you know what I'm saying? But like you said, that can't come from a man who's concerned about social life, who's concerned about, I mean, you've got to be concerned about money, but only concerned about money. That's got to come from a person who's involved in the house.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? He's involved, and he himself has to know. You see where I'm coming from? Anything else on parenting, Akhil, that you'd like to mention?
Kind of stuck now. I was listening to what you were saying, like a story, just kind of, Allahu Akbar.
It's deep, huh?
Yeah, it's deep.
It's deep stuff, Allah. Even I came across Sheikh Abdul Karim Al-Khudair. He has a lecture on how to save your family members from the hellfire. He said, some of the scholars, and he said he met some of these Ahlul Ilm, some of these people of knowledge, they would do dhikr so much. Salafis do dhikr, yeah, it's not just Sufis. In fact, Salafis do it proper. They would say, do so much dhikr, they would say, La ilaha illallah, so much that their babies at 2-3 months would do this. They just lift their finger up. And it's true, because after I heard this, I must have gone to my wife, and I come home one day, she told me, she learned, my mother-in-law taught her this thing to do with her head, like, when you get close, kind of just like to touch heads. So she was like old enough to kind of like respond. So I was like, because when I heard it, I thought maybe that's like a miraculous thing, like a baby just lifting his finger up. I was thinking, I got you at home. These men are just eating, drinking, and then doing a number one and number two. But they are. So I was like, through the constant repetition, my mother-in-law was able to teach her, like, when she comes forward, bring your head close. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, the kids can be trained. So then I try to now, when I'm with her, I do this like every day now. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. La ilaha illallah. And you know what it is? I actually see her now. She does this. Like she's put her hand up. She's trying to do it because she's actually moving this finger. She can't yet, but it's the fact that she's clocking on. You know what I'm saying? But that only comes from what? You actually, as you said, actively being involved. Wallahi, may Allah honor you, akhi, man. You said your daughter, Allāhummabaarik, once with a niqab at the age of 11. Bro, that's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful. Allāhummabaarik. Allāhummabaarik, akhi. May Allah honor your family.
I mean, why, yeah.
Preserve them from evil. Ameen.
Just touching on what you mentioned, what you said again there, it just goes to show, like, from babies, they're like a sponge. They're going to take everything in. So whatever you do around them, it's going to affect them either in a positive or a negative way. I don't agree with all this whole baby talk. Like, the way I speak to my kids, even from a young age, I don't speak to them like they're adults, but I speak to them like they're aware. And I think it's very important as a parent, as a father, to give your children responsibility and stuff to do from a young age, and to give them knowledge, to give them understanding, not just keep them in a closet kind of thing, in a dark corner. Give them knowledge from a young age, and then they will become intelligent. They will you want them to be hungry for the knowledge.
MashaAllah.
That's why if you look at the time we're living in now, kids people age of 19, 20, they can't cook for themselves, they can't do nothing for themselves. Where if we look at the kids of the first generations of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were able to raise families at the age of 10, 11. They were raising families. They were going out to jihad. They were memorizing hadith from young ages. And we think, okay, yeah, no, let them be children. They can't do this, they can't do that. But no, it's give them as much as you can, because you're setting them up. So when they hit puberty, they already understand exactly what they need to be doing and what makes them Muslim, and where they want to be going in life. You want to give them that purpose, that direction from before they're accountable for their actions,
Wallahi,
rather than waiting till they're accountable and then trying to shove everything at one time. And then it's very easy for them to just walk away and say, this is too much.
And that's so profound, because when they become accountable, it's overnight. Like when you reach puberty, like if he has a wet dream or she comes onto her menses, it's like overnight you're accountable now. Your bad deeds are being recorded. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us to get our, and if a child is not used to being obedient and staying away from sins before they hit puberty, you think that they're gonna just suddenly stop doing wrong as soon as they hit puberty. They need to be conditioned.
No.
That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, "Muru abna'akum bis-salati li sab'in." Command your kids to pray at the age of 7. Are they sinning if they don't pray?
No.
Do they have to pray at the age? No. But the Prophet told you, tell your kids to pray. Command them to pray at that age. You know why? Because in a few years, and remember, in the Shafi'i madhab, you can't even hit puberty before the age of 9. You can't even, so let's just say if you hit puberty at the age of 9 lunar years, the child already been praying for 2 years.
And fasting during Ramadan as well.
You know what I'm saying?
All of that's done.
And, and that shows you, like the Prophet ﷺ is trying to tell you, set your kids up 2 years before they become accountable. To,
100%.
you know what I'm saying? And kids are already accountable. You know what I'm saying? Hair under his armpits, and they still ain't been told. Wallahi, it's very sad.
It is, because it's like you're setting them up to fail.
Wallahi.
Especially here in the West as well. The amount of fitna and stuff that's going on. If you're not establishing, those foundations before the age of puberty, then it's going to be a massive challenge for you as a parent.
100.
To keep them controlled and to make sure that they're on the right path.
100. And then for you to then be upset when they come home with drugs in their pockets, or when you got a girl pregnant, like as my sheikh, he said, sending your kids to these schools and not preparing them, furthermore, even if you equip them and you prepare them and send them to these schools is bad still. But like not to prepare them is like throwing them in water and saying don't get wet. It's like you threw them into this madness and you didn't give them no waterproof, no nothing. Of course he's gonna come back with a girl pregnant. She's gonna come back, pregnant, smoking, drugs, this, that. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah protect our youngsters, Ameen, and us. But it's just that mentality. And like even this ayah in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara, save yourselves and your family members from the fire. A person will ask, how do I save my family members from the hellfire? How do I save myself from the hellfire? If you look at the tafsir, Mujahid, Ibn Jarir Tabri brings, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala brings, from Dhahak as well, Qatada, they bring that how you save your family from the hellfire is by teaching them, by imparting knowledge. And then after you taught them, commanded them to implement that knowledge. 2 things, you have to teach and then you have to say, okay, now do this. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you don't do that, wallahi, you're not saving them from the fire.
No, it's true.
Like if you saw your child that you love so much and he's in front of a pit and it's burning, you're going to say, what are you doing? Pull them back. You're going to save them from the fire.
No.
But the fire that burns 60 times plus more, you don't want to say, you're not saving them from that. And you can't tell me you're saving them when you're not teaching them Islamic knowledge, because that's what the ayah is talking about. Teaching them Islamic knowledge and then commanding them to implement it. You see what I'm saying? And even the concept of come back to this issue of getting them ready from young. I studied sociology in college, and they taught us about something called a self-fulfilling prophecy, where they study about how kids become bad. And they said, when you tell a kid in school, they tell teachers, don't say to kids, you're a bad kid. Because when you tell him he's a bad kid, that's going to become self-fulfilling. He's going to become a bad kid, because that's all he ever hears, I'm a bad kid. Yeah. So the same way, if you baby a child and you talk to him like he's a baby, he's going to become like that. And our society tells kids they're kids Up to 18.
Yeah.
Up to 18, you're a kid. So no wonder how we're so different to the early generations. You have Osama ibn Zayd leading the army at the age of 16. You have Amr ibn As getting married at the age of 11. In fact, I think he had his first son, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As. Yeah, he had him at the age of 11. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala anhu was only 14, something like that, when he was entrusted with the task of writing down the Quran. The revelation, you know what I'm saying? These are big things.
Big things, not small tasks.
Yeah, like imagine a local 14-year-old, you say to him, listen, I'm trusting you to transcribe a contract for me, let alone the book of Allah. You know what I'm saying? But this comes where you have to treat them like adults from early. You have to show them, look, you're an adult. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're going to come to an end, just one more thing I wanted to just touch on before we end. That's the concept of being physically strong. We talked about being spiritually strong. We talked about being financially strong. We talked about being self-strong, being patient and truthful to yourself. But then the Prophet ﷺ also said that the strong believer is more beloved to Allah than the weak believer, even though there's khair in them both.
No.
And this hadith means strong spiritually, but strong physically as well, because the weak one, who's physically weak, but spiritually strong, he's good, but he can't do as much as the one who is physically strong can do. For one, he can worship Allah more easy. He doesn't have a problem fasting because he's strong. He doesn't have a problem praying because he's strong. He can defend the religion. He can defend his family members. He can help the weak. You know what I'm saying? Because he's strong. So obviously you have this Beardoverbar project. Allāhummabaarik. Please give us some advice, because even me, I need to hear it right now, because I started getting in shape just before the lockdown. Lockdown came. It all got peaked for me, akhi. I need to be real to myself, akhi. I need to put something in me right now, akhi. Just give me gassed or something.
There's two things I want to speak about when it comes to the physical. Firstly, is obviously building yourself in terms of making you a better version of yourself, making you healthy. That comes from your diet, and also physically, like training. Not just training for size, but training for strength, training for so that your body's as best as it can be. Because as you get older and stuff like that, you get into bad habits, you get lazy, and when you start working and have a family, you neglect yourself. Most people, you find that the non-Muslims, they might not have the religion, but they have the training aspect down. A lot of them, they're keen to be in the gym, training, looking after themselves and whatnot, and they want to put their money into it. Where you find now with the Muslims, they don't want to put their money into fitness. They don't want to, even if it's not going to cost them, they don't want to put their time into it. And me myself as a person that's pro fitness, and the physical side to it and whatnot, I've seen the benefits of it in terms of playing that manly role, being a father, being a husband, and having some, and not being lazy, staying away from procrastinating, and working out. It helps you with that, in that aspect. For instance, if you're in a good shape and you're feeling good about yourself and you're fit, it's much easier to spend more time in worship. It's much easier to just get on with the troubles and
life
and labor and hard life. Because if you're unfit, then it's going to be hard for you. You're burdening yourself.
And mentally, it makes you feel good as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. Mentally, the stress for me, because I do a lot of combat stuff. So whenever I have a bit of stress or a bit of negative feeling, just to have a little punch on the bag and do some press ups, pull ups, lift some weights. After that session, I feel more energized. I feel better about myself. I feel like I can look at myself now. I feel I'm a man again. You see it. And I think that training, it makes you feel like a man as well. When you're not training and you're not, if you don't feel strong, you want to feel like you've got man's hands. You want to feel weight behind your fists. And when you just get soft, and you're starting to look like the woman, what I'm saying?
And on top of that, you're clean shaven as well.
Yeah, exactly. So,
if a brother puts a hijab on you, you're gonna look like a pretty sister.
Soft brother, So definitely the training, it helps you in many different angles, and you don't want to be obsessive with it, because then you're going to start neglecting other things. So it's about having that middle path, that balance. So definitely I would encourage brothers to train, get into something, whether it be the gym, running, swimming, whatever you can do something, and just try and be the best version you can be, because as Muslims we're supposed to be like that.
And like this concept of being healthy, it is such an important part of the Deen. The Prophet, I don't necessarily have because I don't want to be fake here. Like, I don't have a healthy diet or a well-balanced diet, but I'm definitely not one who indulges in food, because that's what I'm trying to tackle here right now. Although I need to tackle that health issue as well and eat good food, good quality food. But there's another issue which is even worse. People just indulge in food, like they just eat. And like the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that enough for a man to eat is that which makes his back straight. When you're hungry, your back kind of hunches, but put enough in your mouth to kind of just get that energy. But if you need more than that, you need more, and like a few bites will do that to you. But if you need more, then the Prophet ﷺ told you 1/3 for the food, and 1/3 for the water, and 1/3 for air. And these are hadith that we all know, but no one implements it. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu saw a man who had a belly. He said to him, "What is this?" The man grabbed it. He said, "This is a blessing from Allah." He said, "This is a curse." There was an Imam called Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, one of the great students of Abu Hanifa, Imam min A'immat al-Salaf. And he was a man who was chubby, but not from the angle of indulging in food. Some people just have that body type. They call it somata type, right? They just have that body type where they're just large. But it doesn't mean that he's fat or obese.
Just big boned.
He's just big boned. You know what I'm saying? He was big. He had some meat on him. Imam Shafi'i had an interesting statement. He said, a fat man will never be successful other than Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Meaning, that's the only successful chubby man you're going to see in your life. You know why? Because of his zuhud and his iman, his deen, his wara'. And it was known that he wasn't a person. He actually was known for his zuhud, yet he was still big like that. So he was like, listen, a fat man's not going to be successful other than him. You know what I'm saying? That's from Allah the way he is. But you, brother, is not going to bring about. And that's not to put someone down or to make them feel bad or to make them kind of self-hate themselves. But it's to what? It's a problem to do. I think, society just likes to baby us in everything. Like, for example, a man's a bit feminine. You say to him, just leave him, he's a bit sensitive. There's a difference between being sensitive and being feminine. You have to tell him, brother, you have to act like a man.
Fix up.
You know what I'm saying? There's a brother who's overweight, he's obese, and we just don't want them to feel bad. Of course, there's a difference between bullying and body shaming people, and that's all wrong and that's incorrect, but you can't now not tell him, bro, if there's brothers around me and I see them putting a bit of weight, I say, bro, what's going on? Because I'm concerned, it's a health issue, and I expect them to do the same with me. Like this lockdown, I'm the first to tell you, I put on a few pounds. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay, it can happen as long as you realize that you want to kind of solve the issue. But this concept of just letting each other, like you're letting a guy eat his life away, that's not good. How can you be a friend to someone and he's down in burgers every day? Like, bro, you're seeing this guy killing himself, you know what I'm saying?
And not advising him,
Not advising him. And it affects your heart. Like, we know it affects your heart in terms of your arteries and whatnot, but it affects your spiritual heart. Like Imam Shafi'i rahmahullah ta'ala said, it's been 20 years I haven't filled my stomach. 20 years. Ibn Umar said, since I accepted Islam, I never filled my stomach once. Imam Ahmed said, show me a man, he said, a man having a soft heart and filling his stomach can't combine. You can't have a heart that's soft, a heart that, feels it and cries and has fear of Allah, and then the stomach is filled. Stomach has to be, there has to be some, not empty, not saying starve, he's saying eat good.
Food is supposed to revive you, but not supposed to eat and then feel like sleeping after. So I think that's where it comes from as well. A lot of people, they'll eat to the point where they eat past their full, and then they get sleepy. They want to sleep straight away. When that's going against how, why you eat in the first place. You eat to to energize yourself.
But that's because that happens to me sometimes. How do I solve that?
Just eating too much, or maybe it's the food you're eating. Maybe it's very fatty or very oily.
Sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes I don't even, I intentionally, because I clock it. You know what I'll do nowadays? I've started to do, because I'm sleeping sometimes like less than 6 hours, just to because I've got so much to do. If I have a meal, I will feel tired, and I'm not. I don't eat much. So what I'll do now is I'll force myself to not eat, just because I know the moment I eat, I'm gonna feel a bit tired. So
rather than not eating, it's better to just eat something that has more nutritional value. So having more salad, having more greens, having
That boys, that.
you'll
But you have
be
to have it.
surprised. Having that will actually fill you up, and it's giving you the richness and the goodness at the same time.
So will it fill you up?
100%. You know, a lot of times I'll have a food. I'll have sweet potato, I'll have asparagus, I'll have broccoli, and then I'll have you know, maybe I'll have a little bit of rice, or I'll have some carbs on the side. But it's the veg and it's that stuff, and having the fruit and the water intake, all of that stuff that is gonna make you feel good and make you have energy. Otherwise, you're not gonna have what you need to get through the day. And avoiding, a lot of people do that when they have an issue with their diet, they avoid eating.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, you know, you have to think, you don't eat just for your weight, you eat for your energy levels as well.
Yeah.
So you need to just make sure you're eating the right food.
So if I'm eating like rice regularly, is that bad?
It is, because
I
you know,
meat every day. I just look energy from rice and
yeah, you have to mix it up, man. There's no harm in having rice here and there, but if that's all you're having, then where's your veg? You know.
Is that rice veg? Is it not veg?
Nah, bro.
Oh snap! What is
That's
it?
your carbs. Yeah.
Oh snap!
Yeah. So a lot of people that they're eating rice, they're eating bread, and they're eating potato, the roti and this and that. You're eating that all day. That's just gonna bloat you
No,
out.
you know, I don't even eat roti. I just eat rice. I can't. You know, it's because these guys ordering pepes. I don't eat chicken.
Yeah.
I don't eat chicken.
A lot of this stuff, and you think about this is not home cooked food as well. This is it's very
Processed,
oily, very fatty. It's not good for you. A lot of that, it's gonna come in and come out. A lot of it's empty calories. There's no goodness.
What do you think about detoxing, Ross?
Deep, but then you've got the sunnah fast. You've got Monday and Thursday. That's what I use, and I think that's a good way, a good balance. Once you've got a diet established, fast as well. Fast, and then that will be your 2 days where you're detoxing in the week. And I find that because of my routine, I don't really get hungry until after the other times. I don't really. Maybe in the morning I'll have a yogurt, I have some porridge or banana, and then I'll have meals around the time I'm training, or the times where I'm very active, so that I know my energy levels are going to be up during those times. So you eat according to your lifestyle rather than just eating for the sake of it.
Is granola good? Because
yeah, granola is good.
I started to have that in the morning.
But for me, if you just, I find it boring. So you need to add to it. You know, raspberries, blueberries,
raspberries,
these kind of thing. Yeah, honey, 100%. You know, these things that help. But having that just, you need to enjoy your food as well. If you just eat a lot because you're trying to change your diet, but you're not enjoying the food, it's not going to last long. It's going to be short-lived. So the main important thing is find interesting ways of cooking and having food, but it being healthy at the same time. So it's best of both.
Okay.
And also going back now about the whole training thing, you have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us all in different ways, and we have different body types. So if you're a person that is big boned, it's not necessarily mean that you're not fit. You know, a lot of people look at people and say slim people, okay, they're healthy. The slim people could have the worst of health because of their intake of food. And it's not solely about your size. It's about your excess skin and what you're taking in. Because, for instance, my Wing Chun teacher, he's 19 stone, but his skin's very tight. He's very muscular. Oh wow! So he doesn't have a big belly. He's got packs. Allāhummabaarik. Like he's built.
19 stones, yeah.
19 stone.
Mad.
And you would never know. And he's cut. He's defined.
Wow.
So it's not about in terms of how big you are. It's more about your diet and your training, because you can be a big guy and still be in shape.
Wow.
It's just not. It might not be the kind of ideal or what everybody looks at when they see fit. They look at someone who's slender, who's shredded, who's got muscles bulging out of their t-shirt. You know what I mean? That's not everyone's goal. Do you see what I mean? You can be very healthy and very fit. A lot of these guys that are muscly and are big, they don't have good health. They're not flexible. They're not agile. A lot of them, they have back problems later on in life, and they have issues due to their methods of training or to the fact that you know, they just have one goal, and that's to get hench. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have good health just because you're big. So I think, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to training and being healthy. And I think first and foremost, like I said, it's just being happy, like how Allah's made you. If you're slim, don't overeat, because then you're going to fall into being greedy, and that won't be good for you. So just do the best you can, have a good diet, train hard. If you're a big person, have a good diet, train hard, and you will be the best version you can be. But you don't want to be at the point where you're starving yourself just to lose weight, because then you won't be productive.
100%. Barakallah fi akhi, man. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you for that whole fitness advice, you offer like training and plans and
more, it's just I don't really do diet plans and stuff like that. But I don't mind giving, you know, some advice or having a lot of people contact me and I just have a quick discussion with them. But
What about like personal training, like as a service or?
no, not really, because I'm just it takes up a lot of time. So I teach the self-defense and combat. I do teach calisthenics as well, but it's not really. It's more of like a coach. I'm more like a coach, I would say. I wouldn't say I'm a personal trainer where I'm gonna sit down and give you a plan and this and that. You know, that's not really my forte. I'm more, you know, just a freestyle kind of guy. But then again, I can give you advice on what you want, or I could put you in touch with people that are, you know, that are kind of like, you know, they're specialists in that field.
So the Instagram is at Beardoverbar.
Beardoverbar, yeah.
We'll put the link down below.
Inshallah.
I also have a service. We're selling some products and whatnot. Do you want to mention that if anyone wants to find manly products?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I've got beard oils, shampoos and conditioner for sale, and that's not on my page. That's under Umi's Holistic Remedies, which is on my profile. I promote it a lot. So if you guys haven't seen it before, then go on there. Also got the website that's been launched for over a month now. So all the men's products are on there, and all the products, they've got black seed. They got a lot of the natural and good stuff in there. So it's difficult to get a lot of the beard oils and shampoos and conditioners that have black seed in it. But yeah, we've got that in there, and a lot of the stuff.
Amazing. Well, as in you got black seed in yours?
Yeah.
Wow, that's I'd never heard that before.
And there's a lot of stuff in there that promote healthy beards, thick beards, and, you know, giving it that shine. And also it's about the skin underneath the beard, promoting healthy skin. So I've got all the products on there. And for the sisters as well, there's loads of products on the website that, you know, for hair, skin, and loads of things, arganol, black seed, a lot of things that have that kind of stuff in it.
Mashallah.
That will promote, you know, health of the skin and the hair, etc.
Do you have anything we can showcase now?
I've got my bag over there. If you could just,
show the people. I have to support. I'm bad. You got the branding on the bags as well.
Yeah, come on, you got to do it big.
You're serious.
Alhamdulillah. So
you and Waleed, yeah?
Yeah, we're doing this. So
Allāhummabaarik.
So yeah, this.
You see it on the camera? Yeah. Proper serious.
This is your one. Bismillah.
Wallahi barakallah fi akhi man. Bismillah.
So that's got a beard bonnet there.
Oh,
so
snap.
You wear that in the night. So that protects the beard, that protects the hair from falling out, and, you know, keeps it neat. So if you give it a good oil and
so basically, when I wake up in the morning, it won't be like that.
It won't be all over the place.
Because I suffer from that.
And when you got babies, stuff like that, you know, my little ones, they pull on my beard.
Yeah, they pull in the beard.
So when you wear that in the night, it prevents that from happening. And also, if you want to deep condition your beard, or if you want to do a hot oil treatment, then that will keep all the moisture in your beard and stop it from getting on your pillow. So then it stops from getting on your face and stuff like that.
So how does it work? How do you clip it?
So it's got strings.
Okay.
Inside. So that just goes over the ear.
I see. MashaAllah. You got some stuff as well? You know, you started a little health thing as well.
Yeah.
Active.
No, I'm talking about the thing. I got it from my motorbike when I ride.
He's feeling insecure at your hair. You don't want to talk about his health thing.
It's not only health thing, it's for the youth club, isn't it?
Allāhummabaarik. MashaAllah. Well, that sounds very nice. Beard oil, yeah? Allāhummabaarik. It's amazing, bro. Allāhummabaarik. And you know what it is? It seems like it's good quality as well.
Yeah.
It seems like it's very good quality. Allāhummabaarik.
Tell me about the time you bought your shoe brush for your beard.
I bought a shoe. I was trying to, you know, my beard is a bit wild. So I had to find a comb. So I was trying to find a comb. I was trying to research. And, you know, obviously, like, brothers I guess they don't care about their beards. There's not much information out there. But the kuffar, they'll tell you about their beards. But none of their beards was like mine. So then I found this brush online that looked like it was thick and it'll be able to tame the beard. So I must have had to, where did we go? Shoreditch. Shoreditch, that hippie place. Is it Shoreditch?
I can't remember.
Went to a hippie place in London, and there was like a men's grooming salon, and he had it there. So when he pulled it out, it was what the picture was online, and he goes to me, bro, is that a shoe brush? I was like, imagine I just paid £60 for it.
Subhanallah.
I needed something.
Yeah.
But the beard was going nuts, so I was ready to pay £60. Slightly, I'm thinking, I think it's a shoe brush. I'm like, nah, bro, it's not a shoe brush. It's for the beard. It's like it's for special beards, you know. I went to the counter, asked the guy, bro, is this a shoe brush? He goes, yeah. But you can use it for the beard.
For the beard, yeah.
Allāhummabaarik, wallahi. Yeah, that feels good, man. Because you know, a lot of these combs, they usually like they're pulling my hair out.
Yeah.
But this is good.
It's because of the spaces
Yeah,
in between.
yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
And I wanted to buy one of these, but they were made from like boar, which is pig, like
Because of the bristles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Horn, like even like this part. But alhamdulillah, this is good.
Alhamdulillah.
It's not pig, alhamdulillah. Akhwallah, barakallah feek for coming through, man. Jazakallah khair. I really appreciate, man, taking time out of your busy schedule, family, everything, work. You know what I'm saying? You brought these gifts as well. Brothers and sisters, please make sure you follow Brother Bilal on Instagram, Beardoverbar, and check out Ummi's Holistic.
Ummi's Holistic Remedies.
Ummi's Holistic Remedies. Put the link below, inshallah ta'ala, and the website. And support the brother in his grind. You know what I'm saying? Allah, it's very nice, akhi. You got to make this. You got to make this D Brothers thing. You know.
Yeah, I know.
It has to be D Brothers thing. You should do a little collaboration with Walid.
Inshallah.
It's funny.
We got things coming, inshallah.
You Walid, yeah?
Yeah.
Walid's a funny guy. He must have seen the setup. He goes on Instagram. Must have sent me a DM. He goes, "Oh, bro, that's sick, you know." I must have messaged him saying, "What do you call it, bro? Trying to get you on next." And he aired me. You know, no one's seen it. Now obviously he's getting big now, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's getting big now. So he's not trying to hold the man.
Allāhummabaarik.
Okay, well, he's good, brother. Allah jazakallah khair. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Guys, this right here is a Big Mac. Do you have any idea how much McDonald's spends every year on their advertisement? They spend $450 million. You know why? Because this haram burger is valuable to them. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to promoting a da'wah project, how much do you think da'wah organizations' budget is? And I'm talking about organizations that don't compromise their da'wah. They keep it 100% Quran Sunnah without doing anything dodgy. Our budgets are nowhere near close. Now, the kuffar don't feel shy to put their money behind what they believe in because they value it. But we know for definite that they don't value their burgers and their haram meat more than we value the book of Allah. Then why is it that we become so tight-fisted when it comes to spending money on La ilaha illallah? You see, it's embarrassing that you will struggle to find a house on planet Earth that doesn't know about McDonald's and doesn't know about the Big Mac. Yet, there are houses that don't know about La ilaha illallah. That's an embarrassment. For that reason, brothers and sisters, I'm going to ask you to get involved in an investment that's going to benefit you in your life and the next life. And that is to support our social media da'wah project. You're going to struggle. And this is respectfully a challenge. You'll struggle to find a da'wah organization that's got as much output as us. I mean, look at our productivity and look at our reach. We're the closest thing that you're going to get to a mainstream, uncompromised, fully 100% classical, pure understanding of the Deen on social media in the West. If you find someone better than us, if you find someone that's doing it better than us and bigger than us, go support them. It's on you to go support them. But if not, then brothers and sisters, we're doing a job for you. I don't know about you, but I gave my life to this cause. I gave my life to it. Kuffar can put 100% in behind what? Haram food. And we can't do that behind what? The speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without any further ado, brothers and sisters, donate at the link below. And let's get La ilaha illallah spreading around the world. Peace.